The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
Now, all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to Jesus. And the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling, saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So Jesus told them this parable. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me." So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country. And there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare? But here I am, dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his slaves, 'Quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it. And let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now, his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. He replied, 'Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has got him back safe and sound.' Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, 'Listen, for all these years I have been working like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him.' Then the father said to him, 'Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
In the name of the risen Christ, amen. Well, how's that for a story? Whoa. So I want to ask you, have you ever felt like the injustices of the world had gotten, as we say at Holy Cross, on your last nerve? You know what we're talking about, yes, ma'am. Has the news of the day ever got you wondering if you can still believe in America? Like you had it with stupid people, mean people, corrupt systems, and inflexible laws. Like, despite your best efforts to do the right thing, you are despised, accused, mistrusted, and treated with no respect. Like you are guilty before the agreed facts are even in. If so, then you can probably relate to that elder brother today. That boy had it bad, didn't he? I mean, that was bad. The kid had done it right. His brother had done it wrong. Who gets the party? Just picture his last nerve. And furthermore, if God operates like the boy's father, what chance have we got? Here you are in church, week after week. I'm making an assumption, I realize. When the plate comes along, you put in what you can. I'm making an assumption, I realize. When something, as we say in Pittsburgh, needs done around here, you do what we can. I'm making an assumption, I realize. And who gets rewarded? Generally, not here at St. Brendan's, but any of those other churches around here, it's the people who about never come and give nothing. Have you ever noticed that? People who do the least seem to get the best rewards. And you think, what? What? You work all your life, and the government seems to want most of what you make. Then they send you a letter wanting more. You failed to report your income. What? You retire and can barely make it on your Social Security. You give the best of your bodily strength and energy to your boss, and you get arthritic knees, arthritic hips, and cataracts for your efforts. Just like those who never work. Now, you got to help me. Remember Tennessee Ernie Ford's song, 16 tons? Help me now. 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Now, if there's any kids, that's why we sent them out of here. They wouldn't appreciate good music. But we know that situation. We know that it just seems like the harder you try, the less you get. And we need to look at this gospel and see what is in it for the older brother. What are the words of comfort in this story? Now, by the usual criteria of justice, that older brother had a point, didn't he? I mean, really, who did right and who got virtually nothing except the old story, when I kick off, you'll get it all. You know, in an agrarian society, that's a long time to wait. So his brother had taken his share of the father's money and wasted it, of his estate. And this is an interesting thing. in the olden days, let's say there were only the two kids, the father would give half to the older kid and maybe half to the younger kid. But the younger kid, it looks like, got half. It doesn't say that exactly, but he divided it. Anyway, the younger kid got his share. The older kid should be getting more. Meanwhile, the older kid is working hard, and he's certainly got a certain self-interest. It's not till the dad kicks off that he's going to get. And so the more the kid works, the better his part of the estate will be. Do you see that? So he's not losing entirely. It will all be his someday. So what he puts into it, he should reap the rewards. And that estate should increase in value if he really works hard at it. Now, his brother's return would cost more than just the fatted calf situation. It would cost more than that main dish. Because with the younger son home, it's not clear whether the father would again divide his estate. And that older boy could get messed with again. And so, he's not dumb. He can figure this out. We don't know that if that younger son's full status is restored, then the older guy stands to lose even more when it's divided. This lavish celebration adds insult to injury. How did the kid even find out what was going on? He had to ask one of the servants. The dad didn't go say, and tell Elmer. Nobody cared about Elmer at the moment. So the scribes and the Pharisees in Luke's setting of this parable, you may remember, they were grumbling. Did you get that right at the beginning? They were grumbling. They're going to be grumbling a whole lot more after they hear the whole story. Because they and we can appreciate the older son's situation. Everybody listening to Jesus could have figured that out. So what's going on here? This isn't even common decency and justice. No, it isn't. We are working with God's justice. And God's justice is not like ours. God's justice, personified in the daddy, can rejoice. God can rejoice in the presence of both sons. And if you and I are like that older kid, we don't want that younger kid anywhere in sight. We were happy with that creep gone. The love and constancy of the obedient older son, is a treasured fact in the father's life. It's not like he doesn't care about him. And it's no surprise, but part of the context of life that allows compassion to flourish. The father loves the son, but he is compassionate. And the parable holds a mirror up to us and asks us about our own compassion. What evokes the celebration is the wondrous news that this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found. We don't learn in the story how the older brother reacted. Yeah, so, or what? We don't know what he said. The issue was the younger son was the lost one. Now we're wondering if the older son isn't lost. There's still one lost son. Do you get that? The younger son has been found. But the other thing about that younger son is he made up a story in his head. We don't even know if he was sincere, do we? We don't know if that younger son was sincere. He was coming back to get something to eat. We've got to be very careful judging other people's motives. And so, another consequence of this whole thing is that nobody seems to care about the work put on the servants. Think about all the extra work they had to go through and their possible potential resentment. This parable bites at those of us who think we have what we deserve. That's all that matters. I get what I'm supposed to have. It really hits us because it's asking us to look at our own compassion or lack thereof. Many of us see ourselves as relentlessly good and faithful. We show up to church, we put in what we can, and blah, 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 blah. We are the righteous ones. And anybody who gets something more than we do ticks us off. Now, of course, that's not St. Brendan. But you know all these other churches around here. And so this parable is really holding up a mirror, again, to our own compassion. We probably side with the young son, the younger brother, only because we know the outcome of the parable ahead of time. But we know the older brother has a point. And we grumble too at love that makes a home for both sons. And that is who our God is. God makes a home for everyone. And sometimes that is almost too galling for us to stand. So what is the word for us in today's gospel? As every Sunday, we are called to love as God loves, not as we are inclined to love necessarily. But we had to put on God's ears and love bigger, love broader, not even Stephen. So we need to see as God sees. We at least need to pray in thanksgiving that God is not as small as we are. We don't know where we're going to come up, and we don't know how other people will treat us, but to others, we can't always trust in the open, loving arms of God. Amen.